The sky above Orcs 7 was dark, filled with heavy gray clouds. Snow fell slowly, covering the rocky ground in white. The wind was strong and cold, making it hard to even breathe. But still, life continued at Outpost 9, a small shared camp between humans and the alien race called the Kalar. Ryan Hale, a human engineer, walked across the frozen camp. His breath turned into fog with every step. He was wearing a thick jacket, gloves, and a helmet, but the cold still bit through. Ryan was not a soldier. He didn't carry a weapon. His job was to fix machines, power cores, and keep the camp working. The Kylari were tall, strong, and silent. They looked like warriors from an ancient myth-gray skin, glowing yellow eyes, and armor made of black plates. They didn't trust humans easily. Many still believed humans were weak, emotional, and soft. Ryan didn't care. He came here to do his job and survive. He had seen enough war already. He entered the mechanical tent, a large dome filled with wires, heating units, and blinking screens. The generator had failed again. Without it, half the camp would freeze. Great, Ryan muttered. Second time. This week, he worked fast, using his tools to restart the unit. After 15 minutes, the lights flickered back to life. A soft hum returned, and heat began to spread. Ryan smiled slightly. Not bad for a soft human, said a voice behind. Him, Ryan turned. Commander Alira, one of the Kylari officers, stood at the tent's entrance. She was tall, even for her kind, wearing black and silver armor. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. Ryan didn't speak right away. He had seen her in the camp before leading patrols, giving orders, and training soldiers.
Ow.
Talked to him before now. You're welcome, Ryan said simply. Alira stepped closer, looking at the machine. You fixed the generator alone? Yeah, I do it all the time. No one else touches human tech. She nodded. You're useful. That's the nicest thing a Kylaria said to me, Ryan joked. Alira didn't laugh, but there was something. In her eyes, maybe a small smile. She gave a short nod and left. Ryan stayed behind to check the readings. But something about her voice stayed in his mind. Later that day, a snowstorm hit the camp. The wind became a roar, and the sky turned completely white. Most soldiers returned to their tents. Even the Kylari went indoors. Ryan ran to his own small tent, shivering. Inside, he turned on the heater. But nothing happened. No, he whispered. He checked the wires. All dead. The battery had frozen. His tent would be like a freezer in minutes. He looked outside. No way he could survive the night alone. He thought about going to the human command tent, but it was too far in this storm. His fingers were already going numb. Then a shadow appeared at the tent flap. It opened, and Commander Alira stepped in. You'll freeze to death here, she said. Ryan stared at her. She wasn't wearing a helmet, only her armor and cloak. I'll be fine, he lied. You're shaking, she said. Humans can't survive this cold, not alone. Ryan sighed. What do you want me to do? Sleep in my tent tonight, she said. Her voice was calm, but there was no space for argument. Ryan hesitated. A human sleeping in a Kylari officer's tent? It would raise eyebrows. But the cold was real. He could already feel his feet going numb. All right, he said quietly. Lead the way. Alira's tent was larger and warmer than his. Inside, there were glowing stones that gave off heat and light. Kylari, tech-smooth, advanced, and almost alive. Ryan sat near the heater, rubbing his hands. You may sit, Alira said, pointing to a thick fur blanket on the floor. Thanks, Ryan, replied, feeling the warmth return to his skin. For a while, they sat in silence. The wind howled outside, but inside it was calm, safe. You're not like the others, Alira said suddenly. Which others? It's the soldiers. The ones who look at us with fear. I'm not here to fight, Ryan said. I fix things. That's it. Still, you stay calm. Even among enemies. Are we enemies? Ryan asked. Alira looked at him for a long second. Not anymore. Maybe not ever. Ryan leaned back, thinking about her words. For the first time on this cold planet, he felt something other than loneliness. "Thank you," he said. "For letting me stay?" "I did not do it for thanks," she said. "I did it because you are useful and interesting." Ryan looked at her, and for a moment they shared a strange silence. It's not awkward, not tense, just quiet understanding outside. The storm kept howling, but inside that tent, something was beginning to change. Ryan woke up slowly. First, he didn't remember where he was. The warm air, the soft glow of the Kailari heater, and the strange blanket around him made it feel like a dream. Then he turned his head and saw Commander Alira, sitting near the tent's entrance, fully awake. Her armor was off, resting beside her. She looked calm, watching the storm outside through a small transparent window. "Good morning," Ryan said, his voice still sleepy. Alira didn't turn. "It's not morning yet. Vorik 7 has 2 moons. The light outside is false dawn." Ryan stretched and sat up, still warmer than my tent. She glanced back, her yellow eyes sharp. "You humans build weak shelters. You weren't meant to live on frozen planets," Ryan replied with a half smile. She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "You were shivering all night. Your species is not made for this place." Ryan nodded. "You're right. Humans adapt. We survive." Lyra studied him for a moment, then looked away again. "That's what they say. But many Kailari believe humans are fragile, too emotional, too soft. Do you think so?" Ryan asked. Alira was silent. Finally, she said, "I thought so once. Not anymore." They stayed in the tent most of the day. The storm outside was strong, cutting across the camp with freezing winds and snow. Even the Kailari didn't move around. The radios were quiet. It was a day of waiting. Ryan used the time to fix a small power unit he had brought with him. He sat on the floor, tools spread out, while Alira cleaned her armor and sharpened a curved Kailari blade. After a while, Alira broke the silence. "Why did you become an engineer, not a soldier?" Ryan didn't look up. "My father was a builder. He taught me to fix machines. I never wanted to fight. I wanted to help, even in a war, especially in a war," he replied. "Machines don't lie. They don't betray you." Lyra paused, then said, "But sometimes people don't lie either." Ryan looked up surprised. "Is that your way of saying I'm not so bad? I'm saying you're not like the others?" She said softly, "Most humans fear us. You don't." Ryan nodded. "Fear doesn't help anyone. Besides, you saved me." Lyra didn't answer, but he saw something different in her face. Not a smile exactly, but something softer than before. By evening, the storm finally began to slow. Soldiers from both sides stepped out of their tents. Snow was piled high and walking was difficult. Ryan offered to return to his own tent, but Alira stopped him. "It's not safe yet," she said. "Stay one more night," Ryan hesitated. "Won't that look strange?" "Let them wonder," Alira replied. "Let them ask questions. I don't care." So Ryan stayed. That night they talked more. He asked about her past. She told him about her first battle, the Kailari training academies, and how she lost her brother in the early days of the war. "I believed all humans were enemies," she said quietly. "I hated your kind." Ryan didn't speak for a while. Then he said, "I've lost friends too, people who never came back. But I don't hate you." "Why?" "Because I know hate only breaks things. And I'm a builder." Later, Ryan noticed her staring at one of the heating stones. "What is it?" he asked. "There's a story," she said. "Old Kailari myth. Long ago a human fell from the stars. He was lost in the snow, near death. Kailari warrior found him and took him in. They shared a fire, and from that fire came the first peace between their kinds." Ryan smiled. "Sounds familiar?" Alira nodded. "My grandmother told me that tale. I never believed it. Until now." The silence that followed was not awkward. It was peaceful. The two of them sat close to the warmth, surrounded by quiet. Suddenly, loud alarm blared across the camp. Both of them jumped up. Alira grabbed her armor and Ryan picked up his comm device. Power grid failure, Ryan said, reading the flashing screen. Section 3. That powers the defense shield. I'll go check it, Alira said. I'm coming too, Ryan said quickly. You'll freeze. I'll manage. She looked at him, then nodded. Outside, the wind was still rough, but visibility had improved. Ryan and Alira moved quickly, boots crunching in the snow. They passed both human and Kylari guards, some of whom gave strange looks when they saw the two together. No one spoke. At Section 3, Ryan found the control panel, half buried in snow, brushed it off and opened the hatch. Sabotage, he said. Wires cut clean. Alira narrowed her eyes. That's no accident. Ryan checked the surrounding area. Someone didn't want the shield working tonight. A test, Alira said. Someone is trying to restart the war. Ryan nodded. But we won't let them. Back in the tent, Alira spoke with her superior via private comms. Ryan fixed the panel as best he could until replacement parts arrived, before sleeping. He turned to Alira and said, "Thank you again for everything." She didn't respond right away. Then she said, "Sleep here again tonight, Ryan, but not. Because you need to. Because you choose to." Ryan looked at her and smiled. Something unspoken passed between them, a new understanding, a new beginning. Outside, the snow still fell, but inside the tent, there was peace. The next day brought clear skies over Vorek 7, but the cold remained strong. Ice shimmered across the camp like glass. Soldiers moved carefully, checking equipment and watching the snowy hills for movement. The power shield had been restored, but everyone was on edge. Ryan Hale worked quietly near the communication tower, repairing a damaged signal dish. His fingers were numb, and the cold bit through his gloves, but he kept going. From the distance, Commander Alira watched him. She stood with 2 Kylari guards, speaking in her native tongue. Her eyes, however, followed Ryan's movements. Later, when Ryan returned to her tent, she was already waiting inside. The wires were cut by a plasma blade, she said, handing him a report. Ryan read it, so it wasn't just sabotage. It was military grade. Yes. Someone wanted the shield down, and they were careful not to be caught. Alira's voice was tense. This is not just an accident. It's a warning. From who? Ryan asked. There are Kylari who hate this piece. And humans who feel the same? Ryan nodded. People afraid of change, or afraid of unity, she said. Our enemies may be closer than we think. That night, they sat together again, inside her tent. The storm had passed, but the cold. Outside was still deadly. Alira sat by the heating stone, slowly turning a piece of Kylari tech in her hands. It looked like a crystal blade, but it pulsed with quiet light. Ryan sat across from her, holding a cup of hot nutrient broth. What is that? He asked. A memory shard, she answered. Kylari leaders carry one. It holds images, voices, moments from the past. Mine holds the last words of my brother. Ryan looked at her carefully. You lost him in the war? Nodded. His name was Kalen. He died during the siege of Tyros 5. A human sniper shot him while he was saving wounded soldiers. Ryan lowered his eyes. I'm sorry. I hated your kind after that, Alira said quietly. I wanted revenge. But over time, I realized hate only brings more pain. She placed the shard on the floor between them. He said once that. Machines don't lie, that they don't betray. I believe the same about memory shards. They keep the truth. May I? Ryan asked gently. Alira nodded. Ryan touched the shard. Soft light rose from it. Voice calm and strong spoke. In the Kylari language, Alira translated softly, he says, If I fall, do not hate. Find the one who brings peace. Stand beside them. Ryan looked up. Your brother was wiser than most leaders I've met. He believed the war was wrong, Alira said. He fought to protect lives, not to destroy them. Ryan sat quietly, letting her words sink in. Then he asked, Do you think your people would have listened to him if he had lived? Alira shook her head. Perhaps not then, but maybe now. A few hours later, An emergency message came through Ryan's communicator. It was from the human side of the camp. "Ryan, we need you at the south gate. Someone's trying to sneak into the supply zone." Ryan stood quickly. "That could be the saboteur." Alira also stood. "I'll come with you." They both rushed into the night. The snow crunched under their boots as they moved toward the south gate. The guard lights glowed faintly ahead. Two human soldiers had already caught a figure near the crates. The person wore a thick, dark cloak and carried a plasma cutter. Alira pulled her blade. Ryan raised a hand. "Wait, let's hear what they say." The soldiers removed the figure's hood. It was a young human technician barely out of training. "Why are you here?" Ryan asked, stepping closer. The man looked scared. "I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I was ordered to break the supply lock." "By who?" Alira demanded. The man hesitated, then said, "Lieutenant Brooks. He said the alliance is fake. He said the Kailari would betray us eventually, and we should strike first." Ryan's face turned hard. "Where is Brooks now?" The man lowered his head. "Gone. Disappeared into the hills after giving me the orders." Alira spoke into her. "Come," alerting both sides of the camp. Patrols were sent out, but Brooks had vanished. Back in the tent, Ryan felt tired, but more angry than afraid. "So now we know. Someone on our side wants to destroy the peace, and used you to help him find the truth," Alira added. "Truth?" Ryan asked. Alira looked at him. "You fixed the generator? You helped investigate. You stayed neutral. You helped both sides. In doing so, you became a bridge." "A bridge? Yes," she said. "A bridge between our kinds. My people don't listen to humans, but they might listen to you." Ryan laughed lightly. "I'm just an engineer." "Are more than that now," Alira replied. She stood and stepped closer. "You stayed in my tent, not just for warmth. You listened. You shared pain. You respected Kailari ways." Ryan looked up at her. "You did the same for me." A silence grew between them, not cold, but warm like the heat from the stone inn. The center of the room. Alira broke the silence. "Will you speak at the camp summit tomorrow?" Ryan asked, surprised. She nodded. "Speak the truth. Tell them what you saw, what you believe. Maybe it will stop another war." Ryan took a deep breath. "Okay, I will. And tonight," she added, "you stay here again. This time not as a guest, as my ally." Ryan smiled. "I'd like that." The next morning, the air inside Outpost 9 was tense. Soldiers from both sides moved carefully, whispering in low voices. The sun gave no warmth. Only the sharp, frozen wind passed between the rows of tents. Ryan Hale stood near the central camp tower, holding a datapad. His hands were steady, but his heart was beating fast. Today, he had to speak in front of both Kailari and human leaders. He was not a soldier, not a commander, but somehow, he had become a voice of reason. Commander Alira walked beside him, fully armored. Her presence gave him comfort. She had requested the summit. She had told her own leaders that Ryan deserved to be heard. That alone was a powerful sign. At the edge of the camp, a large tent had been prepared. Inside, Kailari officers and human commanders sat in a wide circle. The air was cold and heavy with silence. Alira stepped forward. "This is Ryan Hale, human engineer. He has something to say." Ryan looked around. All eyes were on him. Curious, some suspicious. He took a breath and spoke. "I came to Vorax 7 to fix machines. I didn't come to lead. I didn't come to fight. But something happened here. Something important." He paused, holding up the datapad. "Last night, a human soldier was caught near our supplies. He confessed he was following secret orders. From Lieutenant Brooks, a man who has now disappeared. Brooks believed the Kailari were planning to betray us. So he acted first." A Kailari officer growled. Human colonel narrowed his eyes. Ryan continued. "This isn't the first time. 2 nights ago, the power shield was cut. Someone wanted this camp to fall. Someone wanted war to restart." He looked around the room. "I've lived among both humans and Kailari. I've spoken to your people. I've listened to your fears. And I believe something simple but powerful. We don't have to hate each other." A long silence followed. No one moved. Then Alira stepped forward. I trust this human. He speaks truth. He could have stayed silent. Instead, he chose to protect us all. A few Kailari nodded. On the human side, one captain stood slowly and said, I've worked. With Hale, he's honest. That broke the silence. More officers began to talk. The ice between them began to melt. Later that day, Ryan returned to his workstation. Tried to focus, but the summit's weight stayed in his mind. He had never spoken like that before. Stood between two powers, holding nothing but words. Alira found him an hour later. You spoke well? She said. Do you think it mattered? Ryan asked. Yes, she replied. Even small truths can break big lies. They walked together through the camp. Snow was falling again, light and soft. At the Kailari command center, a scout ran up to them. Commander. A distress signal. Was found Kalari's signal, but old. Alira read the data. It's from the northern hills. A hidden outpost. Ryan looked at the map. Could be where Brooks ran to? Alira nodded. I'm leading a team. You should come. Ryan blinked. Me? Why? You're part of this now, and your voice may be needed again. By evening, a small group moved toward the hills. 3 Kailari warriors, 2 human scouts, Alira and Ryan. They traveled on foot snow boots, crunching, weapons ready. After 2 hours, they found it, a hidden cave with old tech signals coming. From inside, it was dark, quiet, and cold. Alira signaled for silence. The team entered the cave slowly. Inside, they found something shocking. A working power core, Kailari weapons, and human supplies hidden together. It's a rogue base, Alira whispered. Kailari and human extremists working together in secret. Ryan looked around. They wanted to restart the war. Suddenly, a sound echoed deeper in the cave footsteps. Weapons rose. Alira signaled. Ryan held his breath. Out from the shadows stepped Lieutenant Brooks, holding a small plasma detonator. Don't move. He shouted. The team froze. Brooks looked at Ryan. You, the engineer who thinks peace is possible, you ruined everything. Ryan stepped forward slowly. It's not too late. You don't have to do this. Too late. Brooks laughed. Saw what the Kailari did to my brother. I'll never trust them. Alira stepped forward. Hate blinds you. We lost brothers too. This is not justice, it's revenge. Brooks' hands shook. The detonator trembled in his grip. Ryan said softly, I don't know your pain, Brooks, but I know where this path leads. More death, more hate. Brooks looked between them. His breathing grew heavier, and suddenly he dropped the detonator. Kailari warriors rushed forward and grabbed him. Back at the camp, the leaders were informed. The rogue base was real. Proof was gathered. The summit resumed. This time, both Kailari and human officers agreed. It would hunt down any hidden groups that threatened peace. Together, Ryan sat quietly as the leaders signed. A new joint mission pact. Alira leaned toward him. You changed. Everything. I just told the truth, he replied. No, she said. You became the proof that peace is possible. That night, in her tent, Alira placed 2 cups of hot broth on the floor. She sat beside Ryan, both wrapped in warm blankets. Thank you, she said softly, for believing in something better. Ryan smiled. Thank you for giving me a chance. Outside, the cold wind howled, but inside the tent, there was warmth not. Just from the heater, but from something deeper, something stronger than any weapon. The camp at Outpost 9 had changed. Human and Kailar soldiers no longer avoided each other. Some shared meals, others trained side by side. The tension that once filled the air had become something else, hope, but not everyone accepted the change. Ryan. Hale walked through the engineering zone, checking equipment as usual. But now, wherever he went, people nodded at him. Soldiers from both sides greeted him with respect. Not because of his rank he had none, but because of what he had done. He had spoken the truth. He had helped stop a war. Still, Ryan didn't feel like a hero. He felt tired. There was more to fix than machines now. There were old wounds, silent doubts, and hidden enemies still watching. Commander Alira joined him near the shield generator. She stood tall, her armor polished, her yellow eyes scanning the area. "We have a problem," she said quietly. Ryan looked up. "What kind?" "There's going to be a test," she said. "Joint mission. 1 Kylari squad, 1 human squad. They'll work together under fire." Ryan frowned. "Under fire? It's real," Alira said. "There's a small base in the western mountains. A rogue group is hiding there. It's believed they still plan to attack. This mission will prove if our alliance works or breaks." Ryan looked away. "If it goes wrong, then peace fails," Alira said, "and the war begins again." The next day a new team was formed. 3 Kylari warriors, 3 human soldiers. 1 mission: eliminate the rogue base. Commander Alira led the mission. She requested Ryan as her tech officer. Some disagreed. "He's not a fighter," one officer said. "He's more than that," Alira replied. "He's the reason this mission is even possible." The team left at dawn. They traveled through frozen hills and steep cliffs. Snowstorms slowed them down, but they kept moving. Each soldier had doubts, but none showed fear. At the base of the mountain, they stopped. The hidden enemy camp was ahead, built into the rocks. Ryan crouched beside Alira. He showed her the scanner readings. 6 heat signatures. 2 turrets. "We'll need to disable the generator before we get close." She nodded. "I'll lead the attack. You'll take the engineer with you and disable the power." One of the human soldiers, a young man named Miller, stepped up. "I'll go with him. I'll cover your path," said a Kylari warrior named Jorak. Ryan looked at the two, human and Kylari, working together. "Not long ago they would have tried to kill each other. Let's go," Ryan said. They moved through the snowy rocks, careful and silent. The cold made their movements slow, but they didn't stop. At last they reached the generator. It was old but still working, just enough to power the base defenses. Ryan opened his toolkit. "Keep watch," he whispered. Miller and Jorak stood guard. Ryan worked quickly, fingers moving over wires and controls. Suddenly, voices ahead. Enemy scouts. Jorak raised his weapon. Miller did too, but instead of arguing, they moved as one. Jorak whispered, "You cover left, I'll take right." Miller nodded. 2 quick shots. 2 enemies down. No noise. No mistakes. Ryan kept working. The generator powered down. "Done," he whispered. "Then let's move," Jorak said. Meanwhile, Lyra led the rest of the team into the base. With the power down, the turrets were offline. They moved like shadows. In 10 minutes, it was over. The rogue camp was secured. No one escaped. No injuries. It was the first time in history that a joint team of humans and Kylari had completed a mission together in the field. Back at Outpost 9, news of the success spread fast. Officers gathered. Leaders listened. Even the strict generals both. Kylari and human couldn't deny it. The alliance worked. Later that night, Ryan sat outside Alira's tent, looking at the stars. He didn't feel like a warrior. He didn't even feel like an engineer. He felt like someone standing in the middle of something important. Bigger than him. Bigger than war. Alira joined him, carrying 2 cups of warm drink. "You were brave today," she said. "I was scared," he admitted. "Bravery is not the absence of fear," Alira replied. "It is acting in spite of it." They sat in silence for a while. Then, Alira said, "There will be a ceremony tomorrow to mark the beginning of our new alliance. They want you to speak." Ryan laughed softly. Again, hear the voice. "They trust," she said, "even when they don't trust each other." He nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll speak." The next day, the sky was bright. The soldiers gathered in the main square of Outpost 9. Banners of both species flew side by side. It was cold, but no one complained. Ryan stepped up to the platform. His heart pounded, but he stood tall. He looked at the crowd, humans in winter. Suits, Kylari in armor. So different, yet all standing together. He spoke simply. "Once I came here to fix machines. I didn't expect to fix anything else. But what I saw, what I lived, showed me something important." He paused. We are different. That's true. But we both feel loss. We both know pain. And we both dream of peace. He looked over at Alira. She gave him a small nod. This is not the end, Ryan said. It's just the beginning. Let's build something better. Together. The crowd was silent, then cheering. From humans. From Kailari. All as one. That night, back in the tent, Ryan placed a small stone on the floor. It was smooth, shaped like a gear something he had carved himself. Alira looked at it. What is this? Promise, Ryan said. To keep building peace.
Alira
Smiled softly. Then I will place something beside it. She placed her memory shard next to the stone. Together they sat quietly, side by side. No words, no need. Outside the snow fell gently. Inside, the warmth was strong. The sky above Vorik 7 was soft and blue.
Yes.
Snow still covered the ground, but the sun was finally shining. It was a rare morning, quiet, calm, and full of new hope. Inside her tent, Commander Alira stood near the entrance, watching the soldiers prepare for a ceremony. She wore her polished armor and a long dark cape that moved with the wind. She looked strong, as always, but there was something gentle in her eyes today. Behind her, Ryan Hale finished packing his small bag. His mission was over, his return. Shuttled to Earth would arrive in just a few hours. Yet he moved slowly, as if something inside him didn't want to leave. You're really going? Alira asked without turning. Ryan stopped. That's what they told me. I've been recalled to Earth. They want me to speak about the Alliance. Alira nodded. They will listen to you. They always do. Ryan smiled faintly. But I'm not sure I want to go. Alira turned and looked at him. You've done? More than enough, she said. You helped stop a war. You built a bridge between enemies. And you changed me. Ryan looked into her eyes. You changed me too. There was a silence between them, not heavy, but full of emotion. People from different worlds, standing at the edge of something new. Outside, the camp gathered near the central tower. Flags of both Earth and Kailari flew together. Music played softly from the human side, while Kailari drums beat in slow rhythm. It was not a farewell ceremony. It was a beginning. A young Kailari cadet read from a scroll in her native language, then passed it to a human officer who read it in English. We stand together not as enemies, he said, but as survivors, as builders, as allies. People clapped, some cheered. There were smiles, real ones. It's not forced, not guarded. Ryan stood beside Alira, watching it all. Didn't speak. He just listened. He had seen so much in such a short time. Fear, mistrust, violence. But he had also seen bravery, kindness, and something stronger than war understanding. Alira leaned toward him. You're not just leaving a tent, Ryan. You're leaving something behind. Ryan looked down at the small stone he had placed near the command pillar, simple gear with both the Earth symbol and the Kailari mark carved into it. I know, he said, but it'll stay here like a promise. As the ceremony ended, a small transport ship landed on the far side of the camp. Its engines hummed softly. Human pilot waved to Ryan. Time to go, the pilot called. Ryan took a deep breath. Alira didn't say anything at first. She walked with him toward the ship. Soldiers from both sides stopped and nodded as he passed. Even the cold wind felt softer than before. When they reached the ship's ramp, Ryan turned to Alira. I don't want this to be the end, he said. Alira's face remained calm, but her eyes shined. It's not the end. It's the first page. Of a new story? I'll send updates, Ryan said. I'll speak for peace. For us? And I'll lead here, she replied. For us. He paused, then smiled. You know, Ryan said, everything changed the moment you said, sleep in my tent tonight. Alira gave a small smile, I remember. You were shivering. You were cold-hearted, Ryan teased. I still am, she joked. But maybe only a little. They both laughed. Soft, warm laughter that belonged to friends. Or maybe something more. Ryan stepped onto the ship ramp, then looked back one last time. Alira raised her hand not in a soldier's salute, but in a quiet wave. A personal goodbye, he waved back. The ship rose slowly into the sky, leaving behind the snowy ground of VORX-7. Inside, Ryan looked out the window. The camp grew smaller, but the feeling in his heart grew stronger. He didn't know where this path would lead, but he knew he had started something important. Something that could change not just one planet, but many. Weeks later, on Earth, Ryan stood before a massive audience. Leaders, scientists, and soldiers from all over the world filled the giant hall. He spoke clearly, confidently. I lived with the Kailari. I worked beside them. I shared their food, their fire, and their stories. They are not so different from us. He paused. They feel pain. They dream of peace. And when we stop looking at what separates us and start seeing what we share, we find something powerful. Unity. The hall rose in applause. Back on Vorex-7, inside the same tent, Alira sat alone. She held a small screen in her hand, watching Ryan's speech as he finished speaking. She smiled, not the usual warrior's smirk, but something soft, filled with pride. Then she looked down at the gear-shaped stone on the floor beside her memory. Chardont, and she whispered, "Come back soon, human." Outside, snow gently fell once more. But inside that tent, the warmth remained, built not from fire, but from a bond that had changed to lives. The future of two worlds.